Hi, welcome to Esther's Gardening Adventures. I'm Esther, and today I'm going to talk about my 5 goals for my garden this season, this coming year, or this 2021. I hope that my list will help inspire you to think about what you're going to do differently, and I would love to hear in your comments on what some of your goals are or your thoughts on the ones that I have. So let's go ahead and get to it. My first one involves pest control. Last year, I purposefully did not use any kind of pesticides, nor any real strong measures, putting up cloth, row covers or anything to keep the pests out. Partly because I was just trying to come to terms generally with gardening, but also I was just very curious to see how nature would respond on its own without my interference. Generally, with exception to cucumbers and squash of all types, generally the plants did fine. I was able to keep the tomato hornworm, I was able to keep them under control, but the squash bugs, the squash beetles, squash, cucumber, and vine borer pests were just terrible. And I couldn't keep up with them. And I had heard, because it was a new garden, that maybe I wouldn't have as many problems with vine borers because they wouldn't have their cocoons in the soil, but it didn't make a difference. I guess this whole area is ridden with it. This year, I'm going to put a little more effort into it. I want to use row covers to protect my cabbage and my kale, especially at the beginning. And then I also plan on using natural deterrents or treatments like diatomaceous earth and neem oil. And I don't know quite enough about how those work yet to be able to give you instructions here, but we can learn together how well they work when I'm trying it out this year. And then my second goal involves expanding the garden. I think when I first started the garden last year, I just built what I could as fast as I could, and I tried to do it right, and I tried to do it in a way that the plants could thrive, but I ran out of time. And this year we're having a huge holly bush removed. I think my next video is tomorrow. They're coming to remove it. So I'm going to post a video tomorrow after that's done. And I'm going to have more space in the front yard, which is where all the big sun is. So I plan on expanding my garden there, but also I'm going to plant more, have more natives. I plan to expand the spacing within the space I've used before to allow for more peppers and tomatoes. And also I really enjoyed the experience I had growing herbal plants, a lot of which were flowers as well. And so this year I'm going to try to grow more herbal plants. So that's all involved in the kind of expanding the garden area. Within that, and this is my third goal, is to plant more varieties. Last year, I tried to limit the number of different varieties of plants I grew just because I figured there was already kind of enough going on and my garden was small enough, and I really wanted to have kind of the mass production thing to be canning and all of that. And I realized a small garden doesn't have enough space to produce enough to do mass amounts of canning to put in your cellar, right? So this year, I think I'm going to experiment a little bit more with trying out some varieties, particularly in the areas of peppers and tomatoes. I love peppers and I love tomatoes, and I can never have enough of them. And I'm even going to try what's called a determinate tomato variety this time, called Rutgers. So that's indeterminate are the kind that just grow tall, right? And determinate are the ones that get kind of bushy, and they have a limited height. I think it's like 4 feet, and they produce tomatoes once and then they're done. But I've never grown one for those varieties, so I'm looking forward to trying that. My number 4 goal is to just think more about the aesthetics, in particular fencing for the front yard, which is where all the vegetables and stuff are in the summer. That's where we have all the sun. So last year I had this that thankfully my dad had supplied for another purpose, but I was able to reuse in an emergency to keep the deer out. I had this green mesh 5-foot tall fence that I used posts to hold up, but it was really an eyesore. And as my husband said, it kind of looked like a construction site. It just really wasn't pretty from the yard. And I think this year I'm going to try to find a better solution. We're not allowed to have, without a permit, we can't have permanent fencing, but we are allowed to have garden fencing. So I'm going to look around and see what I can find that perhaps would be less of an eyesore, but still keep the deer and bigger pests out. Although obviously you can't keep them all out. My 5th goal is also sort of about presentation and handling, but it's more about, so I want to do trellising. I want to get my trellising down. I want to have a good place for my beans to climb instead of climbing up the windowsills. And I want to have better sort of trellising for the tomatoes, both to hold them up better, as sort of redundant with stakes and other things. I just want to be more diligent about giving the plants a place to grow when they want to grow up. When I grow up. Okay, I'm not going to sing that song. It could be copyrighted. So that's my 5 big goals. And I will add a 6th that's related to this channel, which is just that I plan on testing out and experimenting a lot of things like different soil types, trying different seeds, all kinds of stuff. And I hope you join me in the adventure of learning more about gardening. And I really hope to document a lot more this year about my experience throughout the whole process in a way that can be useful to you. So I hope you'll stay tuned. And in that vein, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you aren't already a subscriber and you liked this kind of content, please subscribe and make sure to hit that bell button so that you get an alert whenever I post a new video. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.